Well, you've heard me talk about the book Atlas Shrugged many times on this show. Ayn Rand wrote Atlas Shrugged many moons ago, back in the 50s, and a lot of what she wrote about. This was a novel, by the way. A lot of what she wrote about is, I mean, not word for word and not character by character, but it is coming to fruition in the United States. I mean, the looters and moochers are taking over from the producers. Pamela Geller is with AtlasShrugs.com, and she's got another worry on her mind, I believe, today. Pamela, how are you?
Hey, thank you for having me, Phil. And just so that you know, I named that Atlas Shrugs in late 2004. So it's not as if I'm following the trend. I'm totally ahead of the curve.
Way ahead of the curve.
How to say that?
So you're worried about the radical Muslims, are you not?
I'm worried about the post-American president. The book that was launched yesterday, released yesterday, Simon Schuster, The Post-American Presidency, the Obama Administration's War in America, is a painstakingly but very interesting, detailed book researched since 2007, 2008 on the man in the White House. And people may be shocked by his policies, but I can tell you that there is nothing shocking about them. The problem, of course, was that the media, in the greatest act of perfidy in American history, and I'm not talking about you, Phil, I'm talking about the mainstream media, completely abdicated its role as public servant. And instead of vetting our candidates, and we do rely on the media to vet our candidate, they acted positively as a shill, not a shill even so much as a PR arm. Almost like Madison Avenue, an advertising firm. Obama's presidency is a war against free men, both foreign and domestic. He's presiding over the decline of the U.S. and in many ways aiding and abetting it.
And that's what you mean by, I guess, a post-American president. We're not going to have America like we used to know.
Right. They're post-American because Obama is working toward a world in which America is not a superpower or moral authority in the world anymore, but just another among many socialist nations. And post-American because Obama is compromising American sovereignty in favor of international bodies, and he's working against American exceptionalism, by, of course, implementing socialist measures. When he was in Europe, I think a student asked him, do you believe in American exceptionalism? And he says, as much as I believe in Greek exceptionalism, British exceptionalism, French, which means no one.
We're nothing special to him, is what you're saying.
Right. And this is what is so galling, because the America's founding ideal, Phil, was the principle of individual rights. Nothing more, nothing less. The rest, that everything America achieved, everything that she became, everything noble and just and heroic and great, was a consequence of that. And he is not an individualist. He is a collectivist. And this attack on businessmen, this attack on the individual, the attack on free speech, let's be honest, America's abundance was not created by public sacrifices to the common good, but the productive genius of free men who pursue their own personal interests. And so, yes, I'm deeply troubled by his war against free speech. He's the first president, the first time in American history that we co-sponsored a resolution at the UN restricting free speech, quote, not to defame Islam. That is Sharia law. That is Sharia. Do not defame, do not slander Islam. He is warring against Israel. He has refused to take real steps to stop Iran's nuclear program, despite the many, many genocidal statements Ahmadinejad has made against Israel and the West. He's turned allies into enemies, enemies into allies. He abandoned Eastern Europe when he pulled the missile defense as a carrot to Putin. And what did he get? He didn't even get the stem. He got nothing.
Right.
He has submitted the U.S. to international law. Now, I broke many stories. Again, the mainstream media didn't pick up. Tens of thousands of dollars from a Hamas-controlled refugee camp in Gaza. They didn't touch it.
So what? Let's get to the motivation here for a moment. I mean, the motivation, and I'll tell you what I think. You tell me if I'm right. I think he's ashamed of America.
Well, listen. Let's look at his background. He grew up on the streets. He called himself a Jakarta street kid from the ages of 6 to 12. That shaped him. He went to school. His religion was Islam. It's on his school records. He studied the Quran. He studied Islam. That shaped him. It's not like he's Ayaan Hirsi Ali or Wafa Sultan or Ibn Waraq, where he rejected the supremacism of Islam. He's clearly a pro-Islam president. He favors one religion over the others. There's no question about it. He created a department at the State Department that is so senior. It reports solely to Hillary Clinton. And what is that department? Outreach to the Ummah, the global Muslim community.
And then we got this clown from NASA on there saying that the number one priority is to reach out to the Muslim world. And Obama after that came out, well, no, we don't really mean that.
Well, the thing, that's what's funny, because, I broke that story in February. Nobody reported on it. It was only when his science czar, Holdren, was bragging about it on Al Jazeera in May that everyone was like, what?
And what are these guys doing, doing interviews on Al Jazeera? I don't understand that.
His very first interview, January 26, 2010, when he took office, was with Al Arabiya TV. And that was when he said his name was Barack Hussein Obama. And remember, Phil, during the campaign, and this is in the book as well, you were not allowed to say Hussein, because if it did, it made you a racist, Islamophobic, anti-Muslim bigot.
Right.
You were not allowed to say his name. Not only did he say his name proudly, but he spoke very proudly of his family members who were Muslim. This was something that you could not touch. I was vilified during the campaign for pointing these things out. Look, we are at war or we're not. They're at war with us, whether we choose to defend ourselves.
Yeah, right. There's a war going on, whether we choose to accept it or not.
And there's a large portion of the book devoted to Obama and Islam. I mean, he says we will never be at war with Islam. Well, what if Islam is at war with us? What are you saying? Are you saying that you're not going to defend this country? When he went to Cairo and made that speech, that historic speech, that will go down in the annals of history, I assure you, equating the violation of women's rights in Muslim countries, the clitorectomies, the honor killings, the fact that they're not equal to men, with the violation of women's rights in America. That was shocking. When he said he was going to make America safe for women to wear the hijab, who stops them? How about for women who don't want to wear the hijab? Girls like Rifka Barry or Wafa Sultan. It's not safe for them. That he never discusses.
But I think what he's saying is that we're not at war with the Muslims or Islam. We're at war with the radical Muslims, and you do see a distinction between the two, or do you not?
Radical is the wrong word, because it's not as if they took Islam and changed it. It's pure Islam. It's original Islam. Do I believe most Muslim Americans, are secular? Yeah, I do. Do I believe that most American Muslims are devout? Because look, the Quran, unlike the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, which are a collection of stories written by men, the Quran is according to Muhammad, the word of Allah, as told to him, and he memorized it and wrote it down. It's immutable, Phil. It's unchangeable. You are not allowed to change it. You are not allowed to reinterpret it. You are not allowed to reform it. Anyone that tries to do that is a hypocrite. A hypocrite has the same penalty as apostasy, which is leaving Islam. Apostasy is to leave Islam, to convert out of Islam, which is death. Do I believe that all Muslims are devout in this way? Of course not. But I will tell you that radical is the wrong word. I will say devout is the right word. I will say pure Islam. I would say original Islam. Yes, there is. Look, the Prime Minister of Turkey, a moderate Muslim country allegedly, said to Obama, when he spoke of extremism, he said, there is no moderate Islam. There is no extreme Islam. Islam is Islam. So America is painfully unaware of this particular ideology, and I have no problem with Islam. I love Muslims. I have a problem with the ideology that inspires jihad. Yeah. And Islam is a complete system. It's a political system, social, cultural, and my issue is with political Islam. My issue is with the Sharia, with Islamic law. Well, I do not believe we should introduce Islamic law into this country.
Well,
Sharia.
But see, that's what a lot of people are worried is going to happen, and is already happening. It's certainly happening in places like London, and places in England. So
it's happening here too.
Yeah.
Look, you had a judge in New Jersey, a man who had been abusing his wife, was estranged, abusing his wife, had been beating her, had raped her and beat her, and he got off because the judge said, look, it's his belief system that this is not a crime.
So they're hiding behind freedom of religion to be able to skirt the law or do whatever it is they want to do, right?
And they also use religious tolerance for the radically intolerant. they invoke freedom of speech to kill freedom of speech.
Well, that's what I found rather ironic, Pamela. And we're talking with Pamela Geller. Her book is A Post-American President. These people, I guess, if radical Islam is not the word, then originalist Islam, originalist Muslims.
You could say political Islam.
Mm-hmm. But these folks are taking our own freedoms and they're beating us over the head with them.
Yes, they are. But we are for the most part unaware and ignorant, and it is a complicated. Listen, I've been studying this for 8 years. I've read Bachayur, Ibn Warq, Robert Spencer. My co-author on the book, The Post-American Presidency, the Obama Administration's War on America. I've been studying this for years. It's not that people are dumb. It's that it's complicated. Look, one of the tenets of Islam is taqiyya. Taqiyya means to deceive, to lie, to advance Islam in non-Muslim countries. That's why you see the Imam, Rauf, of the Ground Zero Mega Mosque. On the one hand, he speaks of of religious tolerance, and yet in his book, he advocates for the Sharia, for Islamic law, which is radically intolerant. He says there'll be no foreign funding, and now there is foreign funding. He's a prominent figure in the Pradana organization. The Pradana organization was the largest financier of the jihad warship flotilla that was trying to provoke the Jewish state, Israel, into war. They were trying to kill their soldiers.
And who is right there egging this on and helping to organize it? But Bill Ayers, Obama being a protege of him. Yeah,
I have a huge portion of my book has his book Prairie Fire in. I don't know if people realize that I think it was in the 70s, 74, he wrote Prairie Fire. It is virulently anti-Semitic and, of course, anti-American. Look, he bombed a federal building, so we know he's not an America lover.
Right.
And this guy was a sponsor of Obama. Khalid Rashidi. Here he is. He is launching a flotilla now, and you can't tell me. The name of the flotilla is, get this, The Audacity of Hope, Obama's book. Now, let me tell you something. Obama babysat his children. This is a man that was involved with the PLO in the 70s when they were the most heinous terrorist group. He is a virulent anti-Semite, a virulent hater. Obama babysat his children. When he sat on the Woods Foundation, this is all in the book, with terrorist Bill Ayers, Obama granted Rashid Khalidi $40,000 and $30,000 respectively. These are very, very nefarious. These are bad people, Bill.
Yeah,
the worst.
Well, it sounds like it.
And this is what's in the White House. He surrounds himself. Samantha Powers, Robert Malley. These are all close foreign and political advisors, and they are of the worst ilk. And people don't know it. If you want to know what is happening and why it's happening, you have to read the book. It's all in there. It's a quick read. Everything is painstakingly footnoted. Everything is sourced. It's not a screed. It's the authoritative book on President Barack Hussein Obama.
Post-American President, Pamela Geller. You can go to atlasshrugs.com, I assume, and get this, or at Amazon.com.
At Amazon, absolutely.
Anywhere?
Go to your bookstores. You'll see it's hidden in the basement. I went to 3 bookstores in New York City. 2 didn't have it. I said to the guy, you don't have it. Just came out Simon Schuster. He goes, wait, he goes to the basement for 20 minutes. I waited. He came up with the book. So, look, you're not going to find it. I'm not going to be in the window of your bookstores, guys.
Right, no kidding. They're scared of it. All right, Pamela, appreciate it very much. Thanks for the insight.
Thank you so much, Bill.